We are on Niddah Parakeh Mishnah Gimel, third Mishnah in the fifth chapter of Masechet Niddah. So now the Mishnah is going to give a graduated list, starting from the youngest to the oldest, of halachic statuses of children as they grow older. Now, I'm fairly confident that all these are theoretical. Nonetheless, at what age can halacha apply to a child, even from the youngest moment? So that's what the Mishnah says. Tinoket bat yom echad. A girl, a child, a female child that's even a day old, mitama benida. In theory, we learn from the psukim, if imrat adam, it's not going to happen, but she could become tamei benida. The psukim apply to her even at the very youngest of ages. And bat asara yamim, once she's 10 days old, in theory, I'm adding in theory, the Mishnah doesn't say, but it's obvious, mitama beziva, she could be tamei tumat ziva. Because remember, we said in order to become a ziva, you have to have 3 days of dam, right away, and then after 7 days of dimei niddah, let's say she becomes a niddah right away. As soon as she's born, in theory, remember, and then she has to count 7 days. So by the 10th day, after the 10 days are over, after the 7 days are over, then she can. He says shlosha yamim ritzufim, 3 straight days, lachar shiva, after the 7 days. And that's why it's impossible less than asara yamim, a 10-year-old baby. Which is, again, they're talking about, we're learning it from the psukim. Tinok ben yom echad metamei ben ziva. A child can be metamei ziva if he has some kind of emission, even a baby boy, yom echad, 1 day old. Okay, and what other halachot apply to a child, to a baby boy that's 1 day old? Umitamei ben negaim. He can also become tamei with tzarat. Umitamei b'tamei meit. He can also become tamei meit. And the Bartur explains it. We learn these out from the psukim. We learn out, let's say, for example, ziva, because the Torah says ish ki yezav. So it's ish, man. But why does it say the second ish? Chazal say, okay, it tells you that even from the earliest of ages, ish. So we learn it all from the psukim. Umitamei b'tamei meit, and a child even from the earliest age can become tamei meit. V'zokek liyibum. Zokek liyibum means, let's say yibum. Remember, is if someone dies, if a person marries and before he has children. Before he has children, he passes away. So his wife has to marry the brother. Now, if there's no brother, if let's say his mother is pregnant, right, and he dies, so, and then she has a baby later on, there's no yibum. His wife is free. She doesn't marry. She can marry anyone she wants. But let's say his mother-in-law, you have Reuven. His mother is pregnant, okay, and Reuven is sick and he's about to die, and Reuven's mother gives birth to a baby boy, and then Reuven dies. So now, even though the brother is only 1 day old, nonetheless, zokek liyibum. He is zokek. He requires Reuven's wife to do yibum with this 1-year-old boy. What are you going to do? You have to wait. Upoter mina yibum. Similarly, let's say Reuven died and his wife was pregnant, and then so therefore, if he died, his wife was pregnant, she doesn't have any children, then she'd have to have yibum. But if he was born after his father died and he lived at least for one moment, and then he died, okay, he's poter mina yibum. Then his mother doesn't have to do yibum at all. But if he never lived, meaning if the child died in pregnancy, then Reuven never had a son, never had a child, and therefore his wife has to do yibum. Uma'achil b'truma. Ma'achil b'truma, a simple case. So let's say you have a kohen marries Bat Yisrael. So the Bat Yisrael, his wife, the non-Kohen and non-Kohenet, she can eat truma. Okay, if he dies, she can no longer eat truma. But if she has a son from him, he's ma'achil b'truma. He feeds her truma. He gives her truma. Bat Yisrael, sheni say lekohen umei, right? A Yisraelit who marries a Kohen. V'nolad ben lachar mitato, but she has his son after he dies. Ochela b'shvilo bo b'yom shalah. The day that he's born, she can eat truma because of him. Uposel min ha-truma. Posel min ha-truma, the Gemara says, is a very interesting case. Let's say, they say it's posel min ha-truma, it's not the opposite case of the Bat Kohen who marries a Yisrael. Why? Because the Bat Kohen marries Yisrael even when she's pregnant. If she's pregnant with Yisrael's child, if the guy's alive, or even if the guy's dead, even the husband's dead, if she's pregnant with the Yisrael child, she can't eat truma. So what's it talking about? The Bartanura says something about an interesting case. It's based on the Gemara. Kagon, Kohen Shaya Lushtei Nashim. Kohen had 2 wives. Achad Grusha, one was a Grusha, a divorcee. He's not allowed to marry a Grusha, okay? And Vachat She'ena Grusha, and one is not a Grusha. So now the ones who are, so you're not allowed to, the Kohen is not allowed to marry Grusha. The children from them are called Chalalim. And those children are not able to eat Truma. But Yeshu Banim Misha'ena Grusha. But before he doesn't have, he has two wives. Okay, one of them was a Grusha and one is a regular wife. And he has children from the one that's not a Grusha. And then he dies. Va'avadim shenaflu be'em b'Yerusha. So he had slaves, and his slaves are allowed to eat truma. So when he dies, his slaves go to his children from the Kshera. They can eat truma because of the kosher children. That's the rule. But let's say the grusha, yeshlo ben echad min grusha v'chalal. If he has a child from the grusha, that's called a chalal. Then he owns those slaves. He also has a portion of the slaves. And since the chalal can't eat truma, therefore the slaves no longer can eat truma either because they have a portion in the slaves. That's what it means. Posel mina truma. When that child is born to that grusha from the Kohen, therefore that child has a partnership in those avadim, and therefore they can eat truma. V'nochel umanchin. Nochel means he inherits. He can inherit from 1 day old from his mother, and then if his mother child inherits from his mother, umanchil. And then if the child dies, he then can pass on. He passes it on to his father's brothers. Those are the laws of nachal, of inheritance. V'hahorgo chayav. You kill a child, no matter what age, 1 day old, you're chayav, you're a murderer. When the child is for his father and his mother and all his relatives, kichatan shalem. Chatan shalem, the Bardunira says, like a chatan. What does it mean? He's like fully formed, and if the lo aleinu, a child, even 1 day old dies, he's a human being, and he has to be mourned over, full rites of mourning, full avelut. Commentaries talk about what does it mean? Why does the Mishnah use the language of chatan? But we will stop here and dedicate our learning to memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.